Another week, another weekly daily podcast, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. It is it is me. I still don't know what what's the word for that? Not pronunciation, the proper, what do you use? I or me? I don't know. I'm starting off hot with just my ignorance, per usual. Usually I wait like 30 seconds to say a scripted intro, and then I go into my actual thoughts, and you can hear how stupid I am, but not today. I'm giving it to you guys quick. But thanks for tuning in. It's another week. It's getting toward the end of the year. I'm all over the place. It's been something. This has been a weird week, if I'm being honest. Haven't felt great. I've been all over the place. If you're watching the video, oh, excuse me, little burpee poo there. Just a burp. I don't know why I said poo, but if you're watching the video, then you can see I'm wearing a hat. I'm wearing a hat, guys. Why am I wearing a hat? Well, you might remember. Wow, I'm struggling to talk. I just had a magic mind. I'm trying to up my mental capacity, and I think it's not working. I think I'm getting stupider. Whether it's the magic mind or just the deterioration of my body and brain, I'm not fully sure. But I feel like maybe I'm over caffeinated with not enough food in my body. I was hoping it would get me like revved up to do the pod, but I digress. Anyways, I last week, if you remember, I cut my hair, I had buzzed it, and well, update, guys. I completely buzzed all of it off. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's not a great look. I'll do a little. Let's see here real quick. I'll show you real quick if you're watching the video. Not great. Not a very good look. Here's the deal. Here's what happened, guys. I just had to look. Look, guys, I had a really bad show, and I was feeling 12 different ways about it, and I was like, I got to get rid of this hair, which is true. But also, I wasn't going to fully get rid of it. I was going to just like try to fade the sides shorter and then like make it look better. And I just messed up in an irreversible way. And so I had to cut it all off. And now I look like, oh, I don't know. Leave a roast in the comments. What do I look like? I look like a something not great. I look odd. But what can you do? I got this one hat that fits my head with a straight bill cap. Makes me look like I'm trying to be cooler than I am, but I think actually makes me not look very cool. So I'll tell you the story of that a little bit later. The bad show that I did that really got me all weirded out and kind of initiated that haircut. I'll save that for a little bit later, but it's good to be here. It has been a weird week. I've been feeling not great. I know this podcast should just be the how am I feeling today or lately podcast, because that's all I talk about. It. Here's my health journey. Also, I don't feel good almost ever. That was really depressing. That was a depressing sentence I just said. I feel good a lot of times, but it's been a lot of up and downs, especially this year. In the last week, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what I introduced or what, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff going on, but I'll kind of go through some of the updates of things as far as what I'm trying to do. Like I said, I had a magic mind before this, which I've been suckered into some online advertising a little bit more than ever in my life. I'm pretty frugal with my money, and I still am, but I'm definitely getting hit with some of those targeted ads, and some of them are working. Which, to be fair, I'm doing my research and like looking into these things, and a lot of them are in the, in the field of health, longevity, just whatever. whatever in the health category to make you feel better or to help you in some sort of way, in a natural way. So I've been really looking into a lot of that stuff. I'm always looking into ways to get better. But recently, the Magic Mind, if you're not familiar, it's just like a little. They send you like 30 little bottles of some sort of concoction that has, I think it's like cordyceps mushroom. Like there's some sort of mushroom stuff in there. There's L-theanine. There's caffeine. There's a hand. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in there. It's supposed to be all natural. I will tell you this: doesn't taste good. Not a fan of the taste. And it's not that I don't mind like a natural, organic, kind of like greeny, leafy, earthy taste. I don't mind that. But it's not that. It tastes like medicine. It tastes not natural, if I'm being honest. So I don't know what that is, but I'm giving that a go. I'm hoping that'll help me like be, I don't know, not stupid for a second. Any products out there that help prevent you from being stupid? Because that's how I feel most of the time. But I've taken it for like 3 or 4 days at this point. Don't really feel like the advertising and stuff always, you got to take it all with a grain of salt, but you always hope. You're like, well, if it works how they're saying it works, then I'm going to be incredibly productive and mentally clear and all of the above. And I haven't felt that. Honestly, I've been taking it, so I'll drink coffee in the morning and then I'll have the Magic Mind after that. The Magic Mind has some caffeine in it. And I'm wondering if it's like I'm getting too much caffeine. Maybe not eating enough and having too much caffeine, because I haven't, like, later in the day I've felt anxious and just not good. Just not great. So we'll see. I mean, you buy it in bundles of 30 and it's like a subscription thing, which I'm probably going to cancel. Uh but we'll see. I'm holding out hope. I'm not going to give it too harsh of a review, good or bad, in the beginning, because it's like, let's see what happens. I'll stick with it. But been having that. I also bought, here's the biggest thing I got. This I really went out on a limb to be like, let's try this thing out. I was getting hit with these ads for a uh, acupressure mat. I'd never heard of that. It's basically just like a small yoga mat that you lay on that has a thousand little spikes, little plastic spikes um, that hurt, and they are supposed to make you feel better in all sorts of way, like lowered anxiety, better sleep, more mentally clear, this or that. And I haven't done a ton of research on acupressure in general, but what I will say is I'm curious to try it. Like I said, I'm down to try a lot of different stuff to try to just be healthier, mentally clear, whatever it is. I and when I say I'm down to try anything, I'm down to try like most natural things that are out there. Uh, you know, Ma- Magic Mind it's a natural drink. Um, but yeah, just in pursuit of a healthier, better life. Curious to try that out. So, uh, but basically, what it is, again, it's like a yoga mat with a bunch of spikes on it, and I don't know. I'll keep you updated how it will work. But what I will say is similar to the cold showers and stuff. It does kind of make sense on that level where it's like you're putting your body through an uncomfortable thing, so then your body has like this response, and then maybe you feel endorphins from that or some sort of benefit from that. So with cold showers, it's like your body's super cold, your immune system, everything's like on high alert, and then you feel like energized and better after that. So I'm hoping this is kind of a similar thing where like you lay down, it's super uncomfortable, your body's getting spiked, it kind of goes into emergency mode maybe, and then you feel better after. I don't know, but we will see. The company that I bought, it's called Shakti Mat, and I'm pretty sure I couldn't tell because I saw the ad multiple times, and the owner, inventor, creator, whatever, founder. I don't know why I said four different words there. I was just like, do you guys want to hear some synonyms? Here's 3 other words in case you didn't understand that first one I said. I think that was more so for me. I'm like, sometimes when you feel stupid, you just say a word and then you say a bunch of synonyms and you're like, I still got it. My brain's still operating kind of, I think. But the owner, I think he was in Harry Potter. I think he was the actor with blonde hair in Slytherin, like the bad guy. I can't remember his name. In Harry Potter. At least he references that. He stands beside. He looks like him. He stands beside a picture and kind of references that. But I'm not sure if like it's a joke. If he's just like, haha, I kind of look like this famous kid from a movie. I imagine he wouldn't make a weird joke like that unless it was true. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. I'll keep you guys updated on that. I've been got the magic mind. I've been trying to get good sleep. I've been back to running a little bit more. The meditation I started, I think I talked about it a couple podcasts ago. I've been doing that transcendental meditation. Haven't done it the last 2 days just because one day I was on the road the whole day, and then yesterday I was resting and didn't have it in me to rest in a different way for 15 minutes. I don't know if I've really found benefits from transcendental meditation. Here's what's been going on the last month. I've been stressed with work and just a million things are going on in my life to kind of stress me out and make things um just a little more stressful than usual. It's just part of life, but I will say my brain, it's just kind of brain fog, just kind of like a buildup of the stress in your head where you're like not able to kind of just be zen and think through things and have like a clear approach at things that are coming up, things that you need to get done, um, your goals, kind of all the stuff where you self analyze and just kind of have a better idea of like, hey, what am I going to be doing over these next couple weeks, the next couple days, the next couple hours? And with with meditation, I was hoping that would help clear it out, and it really hasn't. But to be fair, I've been running a little bit more, and I feel like I haven't really been getting that benefit from running too. So I just gotta like do everything I can to work on addressing the stress and just relieving some of that stress and being in a better place. I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not. If you guys remember a couple months ago, I was not doing the best, but not doing great. But I'm okay. I'll be all right. I got a Shakti mat. I got an acupressure mat coming through. It's kind of hot with this jacket on. I think that magic mind, the caffeine's starting to hit. These lights are starting to hit. Am I sweating? Does this hat just match the background? Does it look terrible? Who knows? But yeah, so did some did some shows this week. I was about to say did some fun shows this week, but I like I said, being in a weird mental place, it does put you in a weird predicament being a performer doing comedy. And that's kind of where I felt I was at this week. I did a couple mics. By a couple, I did maybe just one. I did Joe Willie's on Wednesday. Open mic. Still trying to work through, the new stuff. And so I did a mic on Wednesday. Did not feel great about it. I mean, it's just like a mic where comics are at, so it's not a big deal. A lot of people aren't paying attention. But just felt, when you feel off, it's hard to be goofy, silly, and just kind of in the moment. So that kind of makes it weird, which is it's okay when you're in that mindset because it's like you can still be productive. Go there, like say the words, get the words memorized, try to get the beats down. So it's like it's okay if you're not fully in it or whatever. You can still be productive in other ways, but obviously it's nice to go do both and be like, hey, I'm kind of like saying this thing, but I'm also like in the pocket and feeling goofy and silly and just comfortable. But felt it was fine. That was an open mic. Open mics that's what those are for. But then Thursday I stopped by a show There's a show it's like a half mile from my house. I walk there. It's a bar off Broadway. Couple guys in this scene run a newer show there called Features Guild, which I talked about. I did the show itself maybe like a month ago, but I went back. A good buddy is visiting from New York City. He's in town. He was on the show, so I went to hang out, and uh, they gave me a guest spot. They're like, "Hey, do you want to do 7 minutes up top?" And I talked about this before for that one mic I went to like a month ago where I was offered a guest spot, and it was the first time ever that I was like, "Oh, you know what? No thanks." Like I've been working on a lot of new stuff, and I don't really have it memorized that well. I've been like, it's weird because this is the first time in my life that I've been working on a lot of jokes, but not getting a lot of reps on them. So I'm like editing them and going through different versions and kind of memorizing that, but then I'll make massive changes, and then it's kind of like hard to re-memorize. And I'm not taking it to stage a ton. It's kind of all at home. I'm, editing and writing and getting input from, some other comics that I talk to about the jokes and stuff like that. And but at the end of the day, you have to get reps in front of people just to have it fully memorized. You can memorize it at home, but just to get the beats down, and then also to get the input, to get the input, like, is this even a joke? Is this worthwhile? So I did that on Thursday. They asked if I wanted to do a guest spot. I did 7 minutes, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be bad because this is all like very new, and I don't have it very memorized. And also, it was like a full room. I mean, it was like sold out, and so I'm like, oh boy, this might be bad. I mean, I appreciate very much that they offered me the spot, and it went fine, but I was like struggling to memorize stuff, and you're doing like, you're just doing all new stuff that's not that great, and they're like giggling at some stuff, and fortunately, they were a great crowd in the sense that I would address and break the tension a couple times. They'd be like, all right, that wasn't great, and they would laugh at that, and then some of the new stuff would get a couple laughs here and there. But that was very fun. But I was that's kind of the beginnings of me being like, I'm actually not feeling great. That's when like when I'm feeling good, and I think this probably goes for a lot of people too. But I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if it's unique to me. I think I'm sure everybody obviously operates on this mental scale, and as they don't feel as you feel better, it's easier for you to go up there and be free and think clear and just like go with the flow. If it's not going well, you're not like too worried about it. And then on the bottom end of the scale, obviously if people aren't feeling that good, it can be easier to kind of get in your head and kind of be like, "Oh, I don't have the ability to operate as freely up here and as comfortably." And I think that that's true for everybody, I'm sure, but sometimes I wonder like I feel like the scale for me is like much wider in the sense that when I'm feeling good, you know, uh, things are good. But when I'm feeling bad, it's not like, oh, it's just like a slight difference. Nobody probably noticed. I just felt a little off. It's like, no, dude, I'm like, it feels like there's a huge drop off, which is really obnoxious. But I've said it before, we're all dealt a hand of cards, and you just got to do the best you can with that hand. And whether what I just mentioned is true or not, whether I'm just more in my head about it and it's kind of the same for everybody, or if it is true, like, hey, when I'm not operating in the best frame of mind, I'm way worse than others. If that's true, I'm not saying it is, but if that's true, then it's just like that is what it is. So that's why I've been trying so hard, pretty much my entire adult life, but especially as I've started comedy and especially over the last couple of years of comedy, to really hone in the healthiest routine possible, to put me in the best position possible, to be in a good mood with a clear mind, and to be able to perform well on stage. And obviously, it's not just on stage. I'm talking about feeling kind of off in life here, which is just like every aspect, like, okay, hanging out with friends or at work or this or that, where it's like I want to feel good all the time or as close to it as possible. So Still, constant pursuit of honing that in and finding the formula that works best for me. But yeah, felt a little off on Thursday. It was fine, but was feeling not great. And then Friday, I hosted a Don't Tell show, and it was at this wine bar. It was actually the last one at the wine bar. The wine bar is closing down, and it was the last show we had there before they close at the end of this year. And that show, so it's in the back. It's like this big cavernous back warehouse type room, and it's super tall ceilings, a little echoey, but it's usually a very good show. Usually there's in between 50 to 80 people in the audience. It's a fun, exciting, kind of cool room, and it was a great lineup. Um, it was just a weird crowd. It was not a good crowd. I went up and hosted, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna sandwich in some of the new jokes. And dude, it was the first time in a while that I started out with my opener, which is not a new joke. I was like, I'll open with some good stuff and then do the new jokes. It was the first time in a while, for a Don't Tell show at least, to do the first joke and like the first punchline and get an absolute zero. I mean, absolutely nothing, as if it wasn't even a joke at all, which is fine. When you host, that's like fine. But Don't Tells usually are good enough shows to where you can have a pretty good host set um, up top. But I did that, and it was like, oh man, they are not on board. And I was hiding it well. Friday, I feel like with all the experience, it certainly does help to where it's like, okay, I'm in my head and not feeling great, but I'm able to sell myself and not have the crowd notice. Either not have them notice or not have them notice nearly as much as in the past. So there's certainly improvement there. And at the end of the day, it was fine. But I did throw in some new stuff, and boy, did it not go well. And then I ended on, good jokes, and it was fine. But it was a struggle for a lot of the comics. The headliner, who's, he's very, very funny. He's one of my favorites in the city. He did pretty well. But even for him, he was like, afterwards, he was like, ugh, that crowd wasn't great. He did great for what the crowd was, but it was one of the worst shows that I've done there. It was not super fun. And again, when you're like in your head about stuff, at the end of the day, it's fine. But when you're in your head about stuff and not feeling great mentally, it's just a lot. It sticks with you more. It makes you spiral a little bit more. Like if you're feeling great and you go up there and you're acting silly and having fun and being in the moment, but the crowd's not really on board, it's like, who cares? I went up there and did my thing. Whatever. That happens sometimes. Um, but when you're not feeling good and in the moment and mentally clear, and you go up there and it doesn't go great, it's just easy to be like, I know that logically you go, I know that I did my job and I didn't, crumble up there. It was fine, but also I just feel gross. So that was kind of how I felt there. It was the last show, like I said, that they're having there, and would have been nice to be better. Like I said, my buddy visiting from New York, and when I say my buddy, I mean he used to be in the scene here in Denver. He's buddies with most of the scene, but he was doing shows close by at the Denver Comedy Lounge, and he stopped by for a guest spot. And I think he had fun, but I was like, I'm sorry, man. I wish it was like a better crowd. It usually is. Uh, but that was Friday. And then Saturday, here it is. Here's the partially why I buzzed all my hair off. Did a show in Nebraska on Saturday. And it was in Grand Island, Nebraska, at an art studio. It's about 6 hours away from Denver, and it's a spot that I had done 2 years ago. So I went up this Saturday. I went up with another local comic here. Well, actually, with a couple local comics, but we had done this show 2 years before, And we did it 2 years before. We sold it out. It was a very fun show. It was a fun crowd. It was a good time. This time, we struggled selling tickets. Uh, so last time, the capacity is only like 50. So last time we sold 50, maybe 55. And this year we only sold 25. So it's, still some people there, but you're like, this is a long drive out there. So last minute, we decided, we go, hey, we're going to drive out there and drive back after the show, not stay in a hotel. So get up early Saturday morning, um, do all the last second checks to pack, this and that. We leave about 10 a.m., 6 hour drive out there. This area in Nebraska is an hour ahead. So with stops and getting food and stuff like that, aiming to get there around 6, like an hour before showtime. We drive out there, and I'm driving, which is fine. And honestly, the drive out there, I was feeling okay. You're just hanging out with friends, just talking for 6 hours, just hanging out, catching up. And we get out there, and I felt the same way on Friday, where like later in the day, I was like, oh, I don't feel good. Whereas I felt like better in the morning, which look, this happens all the time in my life at least, where you're like, I was feeling good this part of the day, but didn't that part of the day, like later in the day, or whether it was the morning or the evening. And it's one of those things where you can psychoanalyze and just, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't know. It could be that maybe I wasn't feeling that good in the morning, but I wasn't like later in the evening, maybe I noticed that I wasn't feeling good because I was doing a show. I was doing something where I was publicly talking to people. So it's like maybe I was feeling that way the whole time. I just didn't know. But we drive out there. I thought I was feeling good. Again, I had a Magic Mind in the morning, and then I had coffee like at noon on the drive out there. And I did the same thing Friday and Saturday, which is I barely ate. I I just didn't eat enough. Like I had breakfast, and then I had a couple like sandwich wraps in like the afternoon at like 2 or 3, and then nothing after that. So I part of me wonders like, oh, maybe I just like over caffeinated and did not eat enough, and then you just have like that anxious, jittery feeling in the evening, which it totally could be that. But it's also, even if it is that, which wouldn't surprise me at all, it is super obnoxious to be like, my body is just so fragile. Just like I can I be a man for once in my life? Can I have a cookie and not completely crumble as a human being? I mean, for the love of God, what is going on? Why am I such a weak? I mean, if I was born 100 years before or before that, it's like, dude, you're just not making it. Okay, survival of the fittest. You didn't make the cut. Okay, if sugar hurts your tummy and takes you out for the week, you're not making it. Fortunately, I don't live then. Which actually, if I lived then, I don't think they had sugar back then. I don't think cavemen were making cookies. So maybe I would have done great. I don't know how prevalent ticks were back then too, because I felt pretty in control until a tick flipped my life upside down and really KO'd me. The tick. I like to refer to the tick as Mike Tyson in his prime. Okay, I got KO'd in the first round. But anyways, we drive out there, we get out there, and yeah, like as I feel like a couple hours before we got there, maybe it was like deteriorating, deteriorating. I was losing steam. Man, see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like saying common words, and my brain is like, is that a word? Is that how you say that word? I promise, guys, I've been reading books. These last couple years, I've read more than I've ever read in my entire life, and I'm just getting stupider. I might be the first person on the planet to read books for the first time and be like, I'm dumber than ever. Somebody help me, please. But I think it was probably due to lack of calories. Now that I talk it out, but we're driving there. We stop at Qdoba. I didn't eat, but the guys I went with got a burrito, which was actually kind of funny. We went to this Qdoba, and I'm just with them in line as they go through. So I'm watching the people put the food on the burrito, and there was this. I mean, I assume she was new, but she also looked like she was 12. This girl, she looked like the younger sister of another employee. So I genuinely think she was like under 15 or like in a legal age. I don't know. Maybe Nebraska has like, maybe you can work in Nebraska at 14 or something. But she looked very young, and she was loading this stuff up, and then she goes to fold it, and this happens all the time. You go to Chipotle or wherever these burrito places, and they load so much stuff on there. You go, there's no way they're closing that burrito. And a lot of times they close it. It's like, wow, that's impressive. Sometimes they don't, but they grab a second, like it'll rip, and they'll just grab a second burrito and just wrap it from there, and it'll be okay. This girl, I mean, it must have been her first day. It was so funny to me. She has this massive pile of meat, beans, rice, all this stuff on the burrito. And you see her like try to start folding the burrito over, and I literally saw in her eyes as she's doing that, she's realizing like this isn't gonna work. And she didn't, instead of like finding a solution for it, aka like, oh, this is too big, I need to grab another burrito or something. She literally just like grabbed the ends and just kind of like scrunched those and then wrapped it with a aluminum foil. I just watched an employee like be like, I don't know what to do, and then just do nothing about it. It was funny. I laughed out loud. I had to leave the line because it's kind of funny seeing somebody. Usually you see somebody give up who's like frustrated and like, I don't care about this job. She like gave up because she was genuinely like, I like scared. Like, I have no idea what to do. And then she just did nothing about it. It was pretty funny. Um, but then so we went from there. Then we went to the show, and like I said, it was at an art studio. The owner, very nice lady. She took a chance on us doing the show last time. It went well, and she's had multiple shows there since. And she was mentioning too, she's like, I don't know why the tickets aren't coming through. She was kind of bummed about it. We were kind of bummed about it, but we still got like 25 people there. It's basically like it's just an art studio on the main strip there in Grand Island. They do a lot of paint nights, I think. I think it's a lot of like, hey, people come in, they have a glass of wine. The owner like leads a painting class, and everybody kind of just does a painting. So like a fun, it's not like an art studio like a gallery. It's like an art studio where like, yeah, I think more of the vibe of like paint night type stuff. But there's a bar in the back, so people can drink. And the people who come in, I mean, look, I'm like already a little anxious, and I'm kind of realizing that I'm more anxious than I thought as I'm checking people in. And it's fine. I've done not a million, but I've done tons of sets. I've done hundreds, if not thousands of sets at this point where I'm like, I feel a little off. So my buddy goes up and hosts. That's like 15 up top. I'm going to do 20. And then the other comic is going to close out doing like 35, 40. It's a pretty tight crowd. If I had to guess, average age is like, I don't know, maybe like 123, like the oldest people you've ever seen. No, genuinely, probably average age 50. And when I say 50, you might think, oh, that means there's people over 50 and people under 50. It was mostly 50 to 70-year-olds and one 20-year-old son that came with his mother. So that's how I got that 50 average range. But My buddy goes up, crowd's kind of tight. He's getting some laughs. Then I go up, uh, and I do my first joke, and it just gets like almost nothing. And like that's kind of just how the whole set. Yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those where you're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm not connecting with these people, and they, where you just get the vibe where you're like, I don't think they like me, and it's one of those where I just was like not feeling good enough to even be able to like, sometimes you're like, hey, it's not going well. Like, what gear do I have to go to? How can I pivot to make this better? I was just like not in a good headspace where I was like, I'll just kind of not do well for the rest of the time. And the only, at the end of the day, it was fine. But a lot of it is, and when I say fine, I did not do well. Nobody did great. So it wasn't like I didn't do well and everybody crushed, but I did not do well. I did not feel good, but I didn't feel good internally. And that's what bothered me the most, where you're just like, when you don't feel in control or good on stage, whether you do good or not, it's weird to be like, oh man, I felt like I was on the brink of like unraveling. And the only like decent laugh that I got was riffing on. I have a joke about working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I riffed on, you know, saying some things in reference to the name of that company. If you catch my drift, this is a clean pod, but that set was not fully clean. And they laughed at that, which it's like, it wasn't even funny. It's just like such low hanging fruit. And you're like, oh my gosh, all these jokes I've worked for years on, you guys hate it. And then I say, like, not even a joke, just say something stupid in reference to that company. And they're like, oh, that's great. Um, so it was whatever. I did not feel great about it. And at the end of the show, at the end of the show, I like overheard. So a group of the people that were there, they were like down in Michelob Ultras. They were drinking a ton. They were talking to the guy who headlined, um, and close buddy, Ed Bell. It was Ethan Everhart and Ed Bell. That's who we all went on the road together. And Ed had a good set. The crowd was not great, so it wasn't. I'm sure he was like ready to get off stage when he got the light. But he made it a show. He did well for the circumstances. He certainly did better than me. And they liked him and they were talking to him, and I was like tearing down the equipment, and just like as I'm doing that, I'm overhearing this drunk group literally just like roast me to Ed, just like, yeah, he's like just saying all this stuff, and I was like, I want to teleport back to Denver, get in my bed, and sleep for the next 18 hours. Uh, Anyways, again, it's one of those things. It was fine. I just have been in my head and just felt gross about it. So then we had to drive 6 hours back. And let me tell you what, driving 12 hours in a day to bomb for 20 minutes, you get back home and you go, I gotta get rid of my hair. Sometimes you bomb so hard you go, I don't even deserve hair on my head. You know what? Maybe when I get a laugh, I'll grow out my bangs. Okay? You have to deserve it. I didn't deserve it. So the next morning I woke up, and like I said, the plan was to just fade the sides and the back. And I just, doing it by myself without a mirror. I mean, I have a mirror, and then I don't have a second mirror. I was using my phone. And boy, let me tell you what, when you're like trying to look at one thing and then you have to do like the inverted motion, like left is right, right is left, it's all wonky. I went way too high with the short. Like I went up into the up into the upper portion, the top of the head, and I was like, there's no fixing that. It's over. So then I just buzzed it all off. And I will say sometimes just cutting it all off, it's a full reset. It's like a full reset button. I've kind of done that in the past throughout my life, like buzzing my head as a way to reset. And I do feel like I'm kind of at that point. It's like I need to reset. I need to like start fresh. But it does not look good. It's not a great look. My hair is so light colored that you can barely see that. I mean, it's super short anyways, but you can barely see that there's hair there because it's so light. It's definitely getting thinner on top. Um, it is what it is, man. I don't know. I have there's a there's a comic in the scene that cut my hair a month or two ago, and she's a hairstylist, and she's trying to. I talked about it in a past podcast, but she's trying to get trained on men's haircuts. So she was using me as a guinea pig to give me free haircuts because she's like, low stakes. You cut your own hair most of the time. You go to great clips if you're going to get a cut. If I mess it up, it's totally going to be fine, which is the truth. And she came up to me in an open mic when she saw that I'd cut my hair, and she's like, "What are you doing? What you know what you did? You cut your hair. You said that I could cut your hair." And I was like, "You're right." And that was when I had cut it, just buzzed it regular the first time. Now I've cut it all off, and I was like, "Oh gosh, she's gonna hate me." I will grow it out though, and she can cut it for real next time. I just needed to get rid of it. Sometimes you just like feel so gross. It's like if I were a crab, I would have to like swap shells. I would just go into the ocean and be like, where is like a hermit crab, dude? I'd be switching shells all the time. I'd be like, I feel yucky. Give me a different shell. I don't deserve the shell that I'm in. Okay, sometimes you just do so poorly, you just got to get something off of your body. And you know what? When I'm bald, I don't know what I'll do. When I'm bald, if I bomb, I'll just shave my eyebrows. I guess that'll be the only thing. I'll shave my armpits. But yeah, that was where we made the drive back home. 6 hours back home. I drove the whole way there and back because I have a stick shift. And Ethan, one of the other comics, he was like, "I can drive stick," and I was like, "Yeah, sure." Fortunately, energy wise, I felt okay, so it wasn't like a battle to get back home. But made it back home, and yeah, it'll be okay. I'll be okay, guys. I am looking forward going home for Christmas to see my family, which will be nice. Just kind of relax. And there's my sister, my nephew. My sister had a kid. Haven't met him in person yet, so looking forward to that. Dude, the plane tickets were so expensive. I paid $900 for round trip here to Virginia. That's like I don't think I've ever paid over like 450. It's like double the cost. I drafted up some emails to United to go. I don't feel very united anymore. Okay, I feel more like separated, more like an antonym of united. Okay, you can't have a name like that and charge me $900. Okay, I just bombed for 20 minutes. Have some empathy and sympathy and whatever the other words are that may or may not be correct. But anyways, it's a new week this week, and I've got a couple shows. I've got a show on Thursday that I'm doing. Thursday, I think the 19th at Long Table Brewing, doing a set there. I'm going to be headlining a Don't Tell on Friday, which I'm super excited for. I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. I don't know, however much it is. Maybe it's 20 minutes. I don't know how much time it's going to be. But looking forward to that. Saturday doing a corporate, then Sunday flying home. But I've been working through a lot of new jokes. Like I said, you know, I'm excited about working through new jokes, but again, it's very easy to get ahead of yourself and go, "Oh, dude, I'm writing some new stuff. Oh man, I'm starting to cook." And then you realize you're like, this isn't as good as the old stuff. This is not actually that funny. And it just goes back to the same thing that I say and forget, but uh you have to like go through the process of this every time, which is, hey, you got to write a bunch of jokes, And yeah, maybe some have promise and some have a little bit this or that. A lot are going to be bad. A lot are going to be very mediocre. And not that many are going to be like great. So right now it's like I'm writing a lot of new stuff, but it's like, I think there's maybe like a little something there, but it's not great. So like sandwiching it in between the good jokes, you're like, yeah, this is not on that level. But that's just what it is. You just got to keep writing a bunch of stuff like that. And then 1 out of 10 of those will be like maybe good, maybe not great, but like good. And you just got to keep at it. And that is fun. It is fun. That's what keeps me in it. I know I've whined a lot this podcast. This is my venting session about how my brain doesn't work and sometimes I get a little sad. I'm fine though. I'll get through it. I mean, honestly, it's genuinely, whether it's life, comedy, whatever it is, it's just a roller coaster of like the ups and downs, and that's what makes life fun too. If life were just great all the time, honestly, if I'm being honest, that would be pretty dope too. That would actually be the most dope, probably. But uh, if you didn't have any adversity, then I feel like life would be kind of boring, and the highs wouldn't feel high because you're just living highs. You got to have some of those lows in there to appreciate the highs, and I think adversity does help build your character, and build you into a better person. It forces you to be introspective and try to progress, constantly try to get better, be healthier, do what you got to do to be a better person and to live a better life and to be better to yourself and to others. I'm just giving a sermon at this point. But yeah, working on a couple jokes. Still about the ants. Trying to work out a story. I need to go back to story. I have so many stories, and I need to just try to work out any and all of them. I have a story about my nephew got bit by a penguin while I was at the zoo. That's kind of a funny thing that I've been working on. And then also with the haircut and kind of thinning hair, trying to do some jokes on that. Especially when I cut my hair, I feel like it's a pretty aggressive look. If I'm not wearing a hat, I feel like it's something that I could easily address up top to be like, here's a joke about something I did recently, which was a big mistake, aka cutting all my hair off. But other than that, I finished, I think I said last week, I finished that book, Children of Time, sci-fi book, which was pretty good. I'm now on a new book called The Object, which is a sci-fi book. I'm about, I don't know, 100 pages in. It's like 400 pages. It's pretty interesting. It's basically about a mystery object that is in space, traveling through our solar system that we catch wind of, and we don't know what it is. And right now I'm in the part of the book where they're tracking it via the telescope, James Webb Telescope, and it's heading for, I think, Saturn or Neptune or one of those planets, and it just like disappears into the planet. And that's kind of where I'm at in the book. The assumption is that it just crashed into the planet and there's no more. But I'm assuming, I'm no mind reader, but I'm assuming that object has to make another entrance into the book here very soon. So we'll find out. Again, I say it every time. Nobody ever does it. But if you got some good book recommendations, let me know. Leave a comment. If, you got any comments. If you got any routines that I should implement. Okay, not Magic Mind, not acupressure. Maybe you've got some sort of meditation or whatever. Any recommendations, let me know. Would love to hear. But other than that, I'll end the podcast there. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys again next week.